If you cut up a tree and make charcoal with it, how much charcoal will you get? I bet that's a question that's been bothering you a lot, isn't it? Well, now, there are two ways of measuring charcoal conversion rates, by weight and by volume. Now, weight is tricky because you don't want to be measuring the water content of the wood you start with or the water content of the charcoal at the end. You would need to dry out both completely and then measure the dry matter content of both.
Halfway comes up to there.
Now, the other way, measuring the volume of both, is also a bit tricky because it depends how much you want to grind the charcoal down at the end.
A bit windy.
So, you can happily criticize my methodology if you like, and you will probably be right. But what we learned was actually very useful, so here we go anyway. The log we chose has been down for nearly a year, not stored in the dry, but not on the soggy ground either. If my calculations are correct, it contains 60 litres of timber. Yes, some was lost because of the kerf of the chainsaw, but it has to be cut up before I can charcoalize it. I split it down into small pieces to make sure it all cooked properly. I would certainly need to mechanize this stage somehow if I was going to do this on a bigger scale. Then we put it in the medium-sized charcoal cone kiln that I made and cooked it up. And ate marshmallows.
Yeah, does he not like the marshmallow?
But he does seem to like the smoke. Curious.
Of course, there are all sorts of charcoal making techniques, but this is the simplest and it makes great charcoal.
Yeah, action.
Some of the wood is burned up just to fuel the process, so that is lost, and a lot of the heat is wasted too. But actually, as long as all the wood ends up as charcoal, then it doesn't matter to this calculation. The retort type of kiln, where you heat the wood inside a container without oxygen, looks as if you get a better conversion rate. But if you factor in the fuel outside the retort that you need to heat it all up, then it may well be worse. Anyway, this is the way we did it, and because this will be biochar for the soil, we quenched it with water.
That bubbly crackly noise. Some bits obviously aren't done.
Where is charcoal?
On the outside.
Almost.
Yeah. But I hope further down it should all be done. Yeah, that's all done. That's done. And that's done.
Now, we could compare the amount of charcoal we have at this stage with the amount of wood we started with, but that would be misleading because we wouldn't be using it like this. The pieces are too big to be dug into the garden. So next, we had to grind it down to the right size with my homemade grinding machine. And of course now it takes up much less space. 2 3/4 buckets full, in fact. Each bucket holds 13 litres. So we started with 60 litres of wood and ended up with 36 litres of charcoal. And if my maths is correct, that's a conversion rate of 60%. Not to mention all that untapped heat. How interesting it all is.